It's the number one question we get asked. Martin, you've strapped on an 800-watt industrial charger to your 23-year-old motorhome. Aren't you terrified you're going to burn out the alternator? Well, it's been 6 months and we have driven thousands of miles across the USA through deserts and mountain passes. We pushed the system to the limit. And today I'm going to show you some data. I'm going to check with the health of the starter battery and answer the big question. Did we make a huge mistake installing this EcoFlow? Or has it been the best upgrade we've ever made? The reason we invested in the EcoFlow Alternator Charger was because there were times when we had 2 or 3 rainy days and there wasn't enough solar going in. And so this was a great alternative, we hoped, to be able to plug it in as we're driving and have a second source of power from the alternator. First things first is the actual health check. If you have seen my video on how I installed it, you'll know that I actually installed it where the cigarette lighter is down below here. And one thing I was a little bit worried about was the heat that the unit might actually generate. But it's actually been fine. It's never really got, it gets warm, it's never got overly hot, and it's ventilated under there. So I think it was a good position to put in my situation. It worked well. So I was happy with the placement of the alternate charger there under the dash. The fan for the actual Delta 2 when charging, yeah, that does come on occasionally. All depends of course on the load and the temperature that is actually drawn at the time. But generally it's not been a problem because when you're driving a motorhome, it's not the noise is enough on the road that you don't really hear the fan or it doesn't bother you too much. From memory, we did go up to, the actual Delta 2 did go up to 40 degrees one time. We're getting a bit worried about it, but the fan kicks in and it does control the temperature quite well. So that was good. Of course, you know, it all depends how long you have it on charge for and how much power you're going to be using on the EcoFlow to how hot it might get. So in our case, it's not been an issue for the actual alternate charger down there or the actual Delta 2 for the heat. So, and the typical watts we use, well, because Walter has only got 120 amp alternator, we decided to restrict the amount of ampage and wattage coming in. So we've got only on 40 amps done via the app, which is really easy to do. And that's what how we throttle the ampage coming through. And we normally get 550 watts, maybe 600 watts going into the Delta 2 at that level, which is fine. And I know then I'm not overloading the alternator on the van. So a really important question, I guess a lot of you want to know, is how long does it take to charge the Delta 2 from the EcoFlow Alternator Charger? Well, it does depend on a few factors. I guess the starting point of the Delta, what percentage that's on when we start, and how much we want to charge. But as of what we found over the last 6 months, generally, let's just say the Delta is at 20% and we decide to charge it back up. It will normally take about an hour and 10 minutes, maybe an hour 15, to go from 20% up to 100%. The only observation I've made over the last 6 months is that Walter does actually run a bit hotter. When we are charging the Delta via the EcoFlow Alternator Charger, the temperature gauge is just slightly up than what it is at a normal running temperature. And in fact, if we are going up a long mountain pass or a series of hills, we do turn off the alternator charger because we don't want to put overload on the engine. And of course, when we get to the top of the mountain range and we come down the other side, we can turn it back on. So that's one thing we've had to do. It's not too much of an inconvenience because well, I don't do it as I'm driving, of course. My partner in crime, Eileen, she'll just turn it off and then turn it back on when we're going downhill, if it's been a long climb. But I don't think it's actually caused any problems or any engine performance problems. Everything's my MPG. I haven't noticed hardly any difference in the MPG of using that charger. It must use some extra power, but it's been negligible for me. The thing is, for our situation is we don't have to use it every single journey, because once we've charged it up to 100% with our usage in the van, it does last us a couple of days. So it's only a few times a week we've actually got to use it regularly to charge it back up to the 100%. Any faults? Well, it does turn itself off sometimes. Sometimes we're in charging mode, we're driving along fine, and then the green light on the alternator charger will start to flash, which indicates it's not actually charging. I've not really been able to work out why. I think it's happened about 4 or 5 times over the last few months, but it's not really a problem. If any of you do have that similar instance or have had that problem, let me know. I'd like to know. But Eileen can just turn off the stop the charging and then toggle it back on, and it seems to work fine. The other thing with the EcoFlow, of course, with all their equipment, you've got to keep the firmware up to date, which I do regularly. You've got to do it on a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection, and it does just update and fix any bugs or upgrades. So that's always important to do, and I've done that quite regularly. A couple of things is all personal preference, I guess, but I've read on some forums that you shouldn't really use it on idle, and it's something we've not done. And I guess we've not been caught out where we've been stranded or stuck in a park for a night, and we've had to turn the engine on and let it idle and charge up that way. We've always been driving, so you know, maybe I'm just being too overcautious. I'd be appreciative if anybody tells me, oh, they've left their engine running for 30-40 minutes and it's all been fine. But it's something we've not done yet. Is that we've not had to. So we've just used it when we're driving and not when we've been stood idle for any length of time. Another thing on the app you can do is set the amount of volts that your engine battery's got to be before it will start to charge your Delta, which is always quite good. I've got mine set for 13 volts, which seems to work well. My engine battery always seems to be over 13 volts, but you can slide it up on the app and decrease it. So that's if you wanted to do that. Luckily, I've not had to use the reverse charge, so I think you can use the Delta sometimes to, if your engine battery failed, you can actually use it as a starter, I think. But luckily I've not had to do that yet, but I'll let you know if I ever get in a situation where I need to use it. I'll do an update, but let me know if any of you've had to do that. I'll be interested to know how well that works, because the EcoFlow say that it's quite an advantage to be able to do a reverse charge and charge your battery up if needed. Is there anything that I would have done differently or installed? I don't think there is, to be fair. I think yeah, there's a big thick cable down between the seats here, but that goes out of the way quite neatly when we're not using it and you can't see it. The noise, as I said, is not an issue, or any heat that's generated from the operation, so that's all fine. I mean, I guess I could have just gone for the 500 watt alternator charger from EcoFlow, but then that's always running at the highest possible wattage. So I wanted to get the 800 watt, because then we're only running at 40 amps, which is about 550, 600 watts, and it's well within its capacity. I'd be interested to know if any of you have got the 800 watt and you run it at that. I guess you have the advantage of having a very fast charge time, but it's not an issue for us being full-time on the road. So who's this EcoFlow alternator charger for? But if you are going to be moving every few days, then I think it's brilliant. It's perfect. But it's actually, if you actually get parked up for weeks, and maybe it might not be worth the money to actually invest in one of these. If you're a camper, a full-timer or even part-timer, and you go onto campsites quite a lot, then you probably don't need, you could have electric hookup and you'd have solar as well, so you probably wouldn't need it. All in all, you know, it's been a good addition to our van life. No real noticeable increase in our fuel. We've had no warning lights on. Like I said, it does run slightly warmer, the engine, which I think is normal. The alternator seems to be working fine. The alternator charges our fridge still when we're driving, and charges the leisure battery too, because of an internal leisure battery, so it hasn't impacted on that. Would I buy it again? Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's taken the pressure off living full time, and especially as we boondock, we don't go on campsites that often at all, so we're not hooking up to any electric, and we haven't got any generators like they have here in the US. It's been a godsend. It's been great. So I hope you found the little update useful. If you did, it'd be great if you could leave me a comment, and if you've got any questions, and I might be able to answer some of your questions, or you might be able to give me some feedback. That'd be fantastic. If you can, give us a like and subscribe, and why don't you come on our journey with us as we venture into the Americas and beyond. Okay, thanks very much for watching.